see in the little indicator that I am live. So this is the Humane Mind Live, episode 140, The Mask Slips. And it says 140, and if you look at the list of live streams that I have on my channel, it goes from 138 to 140. It's because stream I did last week, YouTube took it down. So not sure what I can do about that. YouTube took it down. I can't record that video. So the reason they're saying is the title was spam or misleading. And yeah, I can totally see that. I apparently making a absurd statement is not obvious parody in YouTube's eyes. It is. So even though I explain it within the first 5 minutes of the stream, I think within like the first minute of the stream actually, but I can't rewatch the video because I know I touched on it immediately when I said the title and explained the title. But it is what it is. So obviously this is talking about Joe Biden's incident with his mask incident. Then I'm going to be talking about too much is never enough, with the 2 spelled TWO. That is on purpose, and you'll understand when I play that clip. And then I'm going to be talking about voting is hard. Eddie Van Halen died. Oh wait, I did change these. Yeah, okay. I was about to say, if I was wondering if I had accidentally left the description from the last video in there, but because it's like, I don't remember. Yeah, so voting is hard. We'll be talking about that, because that, out of all the things that happened this week, that was the one that kind of interested me the most, or as far as I felt like talking about. Everything else has been pretty stupid and over. Everybody's saying the exact same things about the topic. I don't feel like I have anything new to add, so I don't want to, I don't want to talk on a topic unless I can present something that is original. And I think I've done that with other topics. I think I've added my own personal spin to them. But when it comes to Amy Coney Barrett, right? I don't have anything new to add. It's, it is a circus. It's a nothing burger. Everybody's going to be, they're going to be doing that for the next 4 days. All the Democrats are going crazy, but then again, that's what they're going to do. But this time, they can't, falsely claim, or at least they haven't tried to yet, falsely claim a sexual inappropriate action against Miss Barrett, or Judge Barrett, soon to be Justice Barrett. And they're just complaining, oh, we lost and we don't get our way when we lose. That's no fair. And it's like, well, those are the rules. If you don't like the rules of the game, don't play. That's you don't try to change the rules. Like, yeah, so this is I guess I'll start talking about this before, because this is not really in my show notes, but this is kind of my idea, my thoughts on the. There was the Mike Pence debate that happened this week. Again, I don't have anything new to add. There was an incident with the fly. The fly, really, and the press is making that a big deal. Okay, that means, Harris got stomped because they don't talk about any of the actual points she made. They don't talk about any of the topics that were brought up. No, they're talking about a stupid fly. That's the big distraction to show that, yeah, she got stomped on everything. Everything she tried to throw at Pence didn't stick. He had valid comebacks to that, and then all she did was kind of nervously laugh and cackle, because that's what she does. She's not a bright person. She's when somebody says something that she wasn't expecting, which she should have been expecting all of his retorts, and yet she kind of wasn't. She's like, oh wait, what? Somebody's actually gonna talk back? What's going on? And then the other thing is, excuse me, I'm talking nonsense. Just her being a, capital B word. And it's stupid. Everything about that is stupid. But then again, all of this is all stuff other people have been saying. So like I said, I don't have anything new to say on it. This is all stuff you could hear from Ben Shapiro or Andrew Klavan or Tim Pool or so all of that is nothing new. I guess the one new aspect of it, or the thing that a lot of them aren't talking about, is this thing that leftists do, and it's so infuriating. So I've had this happen in debates. I've had this happen anytime you're interacting with or talking with the leftists. When they don't win because everybody agreed to certain rules and they're playing by the rules, and based on the rules, they are not going to win, they throw a tantrum and try to change the rules so that way they can win. It's not the, oh, well, yeah, you beat me. You won fair and square. All right, I'll get you next game. No, they don't do that. They say, this game is, I'm losing in this game. It's unfair. It's rigged. It's only fair if I'm winning. They do this in debates. They do this everywhere. And they're trying to do that with the that's the idea behind packing the courts. And the question that neither Biden nor Harris, any major Republican, would even Potato Head was asked about this and wouldn't give wouldn't give an actual response of, well, no, we don't have any plans to do that right now, but maybe later on down the road that might be a possibility, but not right now. We're not planning on it. Something along those lines would have been, but no. Instead, they're like, oh no. Not going to answer that, or we shouldn't talk about that. That's not the key issue. We should be, it's easy to give a yes or no answer to, well, I mean, they don't want to give a yes answer to, because then that shows exactly what they're doing, and even though they do this all the time, they don't like getting caught in this particular incident. I don't know why they're like, oh, we've been caught all these other times, and we've done this. Why now are they trying to say, oh, no, we're not actually doing that? Because they know their constituents would be behind it. The crazy leftist Democrats, they're the ones who are saying we're not winning, so let's burn everything down. I mean, they lose like the mainstream Democrats who are like, we just want the government to pay for everything. We don't want that. We don't want your crazy takeover of the entire government and complete control of our lives. We just want government to take but they don't think it quite through. They just want to give the government power to, to take from some people in order to pay for their medical care and abortions and all that sort of stuff. They don't understand that what they want and what the Democrats are doing are the same thing. They think they can get their what they're asking for without creating an authoritarian, totalitarian government. What they're asking for requires that. That's the more and more they socialize everything, it requires that. And they want to socialize way more than the rest of us are willing to let them socialize. The rest of us don't want socialized medicine because we'll be the ones footing the bill. We don't want abortion, or at least, half the country doesn't want abortion, half the country doesn't want socialized medicine, half the country doesn't want all these things, and it's that half country that's like, we're stopping this. If you want socialized medicine, you pay for it yourselves. Stop voting for us to pay for it. But, so that's the original side, or at least the side that I haven't heard anybody else talking about with all this court packing nonsense. Everybody's giving their analysis, but nobody's talking about that. Yeah, it's what leftists do. They're not getting their way. They change the rules. But I didn't feel like that was significant enough to have show video clips of the hearings for Judge Barrett. I didn't feel like it was necessary to talk about the debate, because I will talk about one thing that stuck out. That was kind of like that was well done on Pence's side. Is he talked about, well, Kamala Harris was trying to come after Pence and Trump on the COVID thing. And Pence's response was, well, we've looked at what Joe Biden was saying, and everything that both of you are saying should have been done, your plan for COVID, it sounds like you're plagiarizing us. And Joe Biden is familiar with plagiarism. I don't know if that was the exact quote, but, it was, acknowledging that what the Democrats are saying Trump should have done during COVID looks an awful lot like what they actually did, like word for word. And so then calling that plagiarism and then throwing it back to Joe's history of plagiarism, not just, in his the previous presidential bid in the 80s, but also he's been doing a lot of plagiarism in his recent, even in his current campaign. A lot of his talking points, a lot of the stuff that he's said, a lot of his, he has no original ideas. He's not there. He's copying other people. Yeah, that's what he's done almost the entire time. So just calling him out on that was pretty good. But I didn't feel like that was warranted an entire heading topic and video setup or anything like that. All right. So I've got this video clip here, and you've seen it in the background this entire time. I forgot to switch it back to a placeholder, but whatever. Doesn't quite matter. I'll just play that video because it's pretty funny. So this is not sure who this. This is first video I've seen from this guy. I was just looking for because I had heard this, and this is the first video I found where he was actually showing it. It's a pretty good clip, so I will use this guy's material. So shout out to Mr. Burgundy for clipping this together.
Yeah, no shit.
From the time I got to the Senate 180 years ago.
Yeah. It's a pretty good compilation of it. Joe being...
The one thing we do know, these masks make a gigantic difference.
Not that big.
I would do everything on my possible to make it required that people had to wear masks in public.
So the mask flips is the reference to it just kept slipping, but I mean anybody who's worn a mask and tried to talk with it, that's what happens constantly with those crappy little masks. Again, it's all political theater. It's the only reason I wear one when I go out is because it's required by my apartment complex, and it's also required for any of the businesses in the area. They all have signs saying don't enter unless you're wearing a mask, sort of thing. It's all political. Like, I know it doesn't do anything. I wear it for other people to feel good about themselves or whatever, so they can virtue signal or whatever. But anytime you're talking to somebody, you talk, your jaw moves, it pulls the mask down, it pulls it off your nose because there's nothing holding it on your nose. And so he's trying to give an entire speech with the mask on for no apparent reason because he's on stage, he's far enough away from anybody that even if he had COVID, he's not spreading it to anybody because they're far enough away. This is ridiculous. Sorry. That yawn came out of nowhere. So he should just take the mask off, give a speech, and put it back on afterwards if he wants to do the political theater thing. But he wants to keep it on and then while he's got it on, he does this. No.
We're going to invest in working people. We're going to grow the middle class to make sure everyone's included on the deal. The kinds of investment that will...
Yeah, and that was it. It's like, wait, you have a mask on. And then when you go to cough, you pull the mask down, cough into your hand, and then pull the mask up. Which, this is the kind of stuff if you were writing a political cartoon or a comedy sketch about Biden, this is the stuff you would write in there and no one would believe. Like, Joe Biden is bad, but you would never do that. And then you see him do it and you're like, okay, there is no absurdity that you can say about Joe and what he did on his campaign that you're like, man, you can't out absurd the reality that is Joe Biden's campaign. This is... How is anybody even contemplating putting this guy's name on a ballot? It is so bizarre. Such incompetence, yeah. I mean, in addition to him just being a terrible person, a very, very politically corrupt individual, like, this is the kind of stuff that you were like, ooh, yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, this guy's a buffoon, this guy can't lead crap, he can't even follow his own instructions, he can't. Simple little things, Joe. First of all, people have been saying this to him for years. When you cough, you don't cough into your hand. You're supposed to cough into your elbow. He doesn't do that. If you're wearing a mask, the idea is you're supposed to leave the mask on and cough into it. The entire point of the mask is so that you don't spread what you have to other people. But if you pull the mask down, why was the mask there at all to begin with? It's so retarded.
Stimulate the economy.
No way that just happened.
That just happened.
Hey guys, Mr. Burgundy here. If you would like a badass soap from a badass company that helps a badass cause, then please check out the Hero Soap.
Alright, I'm not gonna finish the advertisement. I just thought I was like, oh, I don't remember seeing this ad before when I watched the video, but the same company also is advertising, I think, with Beauty and the Beta and a couple other places, like a right-wing, or I guess more conservative type channel. So, this guy's not very big, only 23 subscribers. So I'm not sure how big this company is, but they're reaching out to smaller channels like that. Granted, they're not going to reach out to my channel with its 100 subs that nobody shows up to these streams or anything that I put out. Oh well. Moving on. So, this next clip also involves Joe Biden. I think this is a lot funnier. I wish more people were talking about this, but they're talking about other stuff. This is one of the better moments that happened in the week. Haven't heard many people talking about this, but it's pretty funny.
Everywhere I've been hearing all around the country. You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
Man, that's perfect. I mean, yeah. When you trying your best, never feels like enough. I mean, I've always thought, more than a handful is too much, but it's still never enough. And that's why I say too much. Yeah. This is, you're trying your best. No, and this is from Donald J. Trump's official channel. So I don't think he actually runs it. I'm pretty sure, his PR campaign or somebody like that runs it. And it might even be his daughter, because I know she's been doing interviews and stuff on this channel. Oh man, second yawn. Not sure what's going on there, but yeah. And like guys, I don't have much on the agenda for this video because I know I'm gonna wrap this up fairly quickly. Trying to get this stream in under an hour, and well, already doing pretty good. So we're only at 20 minutes so far, and I only got 2 more things to talk about. So, although this next one may be a little more lengthy. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see. Yeah, so that was it. It's just that too much is never enough. Is trying your best and never enough. Trying your best. That guy's running for president, man. And those are the obvious mistakes that people would be like, oh well, I'm still That's just the. If anybody actually took 5 minutes to start looking into it, and you're like, oh yeah, he also let his family get business deals exclusively when he was vice president, and he was going to countries to negotiate with those countries, and lo and behold, every country he goes to, his family member somehow finds a job or gets paid something from those countries. Wow, what are the odds of that? No, it's absolute corruption. And then there's all the documentation that's been coming out recently that, yeah, it's all the stuff that we knew Biden and Obama and all the people that were involved and knew about how the investigation was bogus and it was all nonsense, and yet, now we've got documentations proving that it goes that high up. It does include Obama and Biden when they're talking about the Russia hoax investigation thing, and they were either knew about it or more likely were behind or were partially responsible for it. We're pushing for it. The pushing for it is not something they can outright prove, but they can prove that they knew about it and did nothing to stop it. They knew this was going on. They knew the guys responsible for it. They knew there was no real information behind it. They knew it was all, insubstantial as far as the investigation is. Yeah, they had all this. They were briefed on this. They were aware of this, and yet they did not act accordingly. We know that for sure. So anybody who's doing 5 minutes of research will see, oh, that's what Joe Biden is. That's the kind of leader Joe Biden is. And they should be able to reasonably assume that he's not fit to be president. Amongst the other things, the other dementia-ish, confusing his wife and his sister, just Joe moments, can't seem to figure out what state he's in ever. Losing train of thoughts, mumbling, saying random incoherent things. It's, that's the guy that they're voting for, that they're pushing for. Alright, did I already queue up the next thing? I can't remember. Alright. So this one's a little bit better. So, I think I'm actually going to do these in the reverse order, so I'm glad I thought about that for a second. So, let's do the first one, and then we'll do the palate cleanser, and then we'll end on happier, better notes instead of doing it the other way around. Oof.
I'm naked.
I'm completely butt-ass naked.
I'm naked.
I'm like naked.
There isn't a man behind me. These are my hands.
Why you want me to be naked?
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Ruffalo, put your clothes on.
To be honest, I wish I could cover my hands with my boobs, but here we are.
I'm here to talk to you about voting. Did you know that ballots could be naked?
And if you don't do exactly what I tell you, your ballot could get thrown out.
This is my ballot. Just got it.
First of all, when your ballot comes, you're supposed to read the instructions.
Read and follow.
Really? You're supposed to read the instructions? Oh, I thought you could just do whatever you want. I mean, you get your ballot, and there's instructions on there, but those obviously aren't something you're supposed to read. Here, this is so bad. They think everyone is an absolute mongoloid. Like the people they're appealing to are so dumb they can't think to read the instructions on the ballot for themselves. They have to be told to do that by a celebrity, not just any celebrity. The celebrity has to get naked. This is another thing leftists always do. Like, hey, I need attention. Get naked. The slut walks, the crazy British lady who was getting naked for, I forget what, I mean, there's always some reason, like, oh yeah, for, whatever, to draw attention to this, we need to get naked. PETA ads or whatever, where they're, barely covering themselves or whatever, it's a naked woman or whatever, there's all kinds of crazy left. It's all, you never see this on the right wing where it's like, yep, there's a naked person, and they're protesting some right wing something. No, it's always leftist nonsense. It's idiots. They have the same like four things, and they always use those like, well, because they can't think of anything else more original, or it's like, this is pathetic. I mean, Chris Rock, come on, man, I can't believe he agreed to be a part of this. The rest of these, I'm like, yeah, they're all hacks and has-beens who haven't done anything good in years, and they've proven that they're But Chris Rock has been kind of like, well, he's kind of goes like, he's a smart, sensible guy. He'll come out and he'll say something. You're like, okay, there's the Chris Rock that we're used to, and then he'll say something stupid that's leftist. He goes back and forth. But to see him like this is like, dude, this is the lowest I've ever seen him, or at least the stupidest and worst thing I think I've seen him ever do. And it's go back to being yourself, man.
Follow the instructions that come with your ballot.
If they say to use a black pen, use a black pen.
I know that's like literally the least sexy thing a completely naked person could say, but...
But I have crumb like can of Pepsi. Is problem?
Number 2.
In some states like Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
There are 2 envelopes you have to stuff your ballot in. Otherwise, it's called a naked ballot.
Naked ballots. And you don't want to have one of those.
Number 3, mail your ballot in as soon as you can.
Don't sit on them. Get those things out ASAP.
Like now. Do it!
Get it in as...
Again, they must think people are absolute morons, all the people that they're trying to reach with this. The people I don't want voting. If you're too stupid to figure out how to vote by mail, I don't want you to vote. You should not be voting. You should not be picking the leaders of the country if you're too stupid to figure this out.
As soon as you can.
I gotta get my ballot.
Yeah, Tiffany Haddish, that's another one where I'm like, I mean, I'm sure her politics are crazy out there, Hollywood leftist nonsense, but watching some of her stand-up, she is genuinely funny, seems like a pretty intelligent individual. Like, I don't know why she shaved her head like that. That's like, man, it's a terrible look for her. I didn't even recognize her, and like, until I saw it this time, and I'm like, wait a minute. I saw the name, and I was like, at first I saw the video and was just cringing the whole way through. I didn't even realize who that was. And then I saw the name, and I'm like, put the two together, I'm like, no, that doesn't look like Tiffany Haddish. It's like, in a different context, would be someone I wouldn't mind seeing naked. But this, like, no, this is no. Like, I don't know. If you've seen some of her other stand-up or whatever, she can be pretty good looking, nice figure. But this is just, no, this is gross and ugly. The whole thing, the whole video, everybody in it, gross and ugly.
To the motherfucking post office. Let's go.
Please vote.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. She's like I said, it's like if you watch her stand up, I mean, like some of it's vulgar out there, whatever, but when she's talking and communicating, it's like, okay, playing a character, whatever, she's obviously smarter than this. And yet that entire time she's in this video, she's, basically playing like a stereotype kind of, and it's like, there's no glimmer of intelligence in any of these people throughout this. It's like, man.
Vote.
Take your clothes off and vote.
Vote, vote, vote. Everyone's voice matters in this election.
Please vote.
America needs you.
And now this is a garbage channel. Absolute garbage. I don't think, have they ever produced anything that was good? All right. That's the shot. We need the chaser, the palate cleanser. We need something to wash. So this.
I'm hard. I'm rock hard. I bet you guys are thinking at home, Chuck, I wish you weren't this hard.
Hi, we're here to talk to you about voting. Did you know that voting can be really hard?
Super hard.
When you go to vote, there's gonna be a place for your name. You're gonna put your name, not your mom's name, not your friend's name.
You're also gonna wanna bring your ID, not someone else's ID, yours.
If you do wanna relieve yourself before the booth, then I can be relieved that you weren't removed from the booth for jacking off.
Any cum on your ballot disqualifies it.
If you do feel the absolute need to jack off in the booth, bring a bucket that will prevent it from getting on the ballot. If the ballot is covered in cum, that will be called a cummed-in ballot and will be disqualified.
Null and void.
Don't come in the ballots. Be respectful. This is an important election.
And if you're going to mail in your ballot, which a lot of people are, don't come in those either.
If you are mailing in the ballot and you do have a bucket of cum that you keep beside your bed, make sure not to drop that ballot in the cum before you mail it.
This election season, make sure you vote smart, not hard.
Don't come in a mail-in ballot. Don't come in your ballot while you're filling it out.
Little known fact, Herbert Hoover lost the presidency because of a cummed-in ballot.
Do not let 2020 be a repeat of the Hoover presidency, or lack thereof.
Democracy's hard, but you know what's even harder? Us. For democracy.
If you're covered in someone else's cum, you're definitely going to want to take a shower. You're going to want to rinse those clothes off, because there has been reports of cum-sniffing dogs on the premises, and we don't want anything to keep you away from casting your vote.
Voting's no joke. In 2016, almost 90,000 ballots were discarded because of cum on them.
Remember, the election booth is not the erection booth. And showing up with a huge load ready to blast out of your dick is only helping your opponent's chances of winning.
Don't let you turning the voting booth into the White House prevent your candidate from getting into the White House.
Voting's really hard, just like us. So it's important to keep that cum off the ballot.
Don't let a cummy ballot spoil this election. Get out and vote.
Alright, that's so much better. Man, dude, Ryan Long, this channel is so good. And this came out like the same day as that stupid celebrity one, and just it was just how quickly they came up with this concept and just fired it off, put it together. So many good jokes in there. The entire thing is just packed. Even saying that is also it's just. And that it almost makes it worth having the other cringe this video that's overproduced, and it's almost worth having to put up with that kind of nonsense because we get Ryan Long doing these amazing bits making fun of it. Almost. I think this kind of balances the other one out. I don't think it quite makes up for the other one, but, man. Alright, so that's kind of it for the topics I had pulled up for this week. Like I said, I didn't feel like I needed to comment about the Senate hearings right now or the debate. Trying to think of what else was kind of important this week. There was another shooting, but I don't know enough of the details there. Some like a security guard or somebody who was hired security for a news group or something like that shot I don't know if it was a Trump supporter, but a right-wing individual. So I don't know enough about the details there. From what it sounds like excuse me. Sounds like the victim of the shooting, he was armed with pepper spray, but there's conflicting reports on whether he drew the pepper spray first. But even if he's drawing pepper spray first, that doesn't give the guy who is carrying a firearm necessarily permission to raise that firearm and shoot somebody who's got pepper spray. Maybe, you never know what's going through the shooter's mind. It's like, if he's going to pepper spray me, I'm going to be, coughing and can't see, and he's going to tackle me and take my gun. It sounded like the person who had the pepper spray was pulling it out of, out of its holster and getting ready to use it defensively, and then the person who was armed with the firearm pulled his gun out in response. So... But again, so I don't know enough about that to comment other than just acknowledging that it happens, and then give a brief kind of synopsis of the scenario. I don't know enough for that happened on Sunday, I believe. So I haven't heard too much about that other than when it was on Beauty and the Beta, and they were kind of going over some of the initial, but they couldn't confirm much of anything. Alright, yeah. I don't know of anything else that kind of was worth talking about this week. So, not much in the news. And then this is something I found out about today. Eddie Van Halen died. That's, I mean, it's not completely out of the blue. I mean, Tom Petty recently, he didn't die in 2020. He died in like 2019. But a lot of these old rock, these old rock stars, these old legends, these big names in the music industry, they're getting up there in years, and it's surprising that Eddie Van Halen died, but the Rolling Stones, they're still alive, and as far as I know, they were still touring last I heard. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, Van Halen before the Stones? I mean, what's the age difference there? What's going on there? I mean, yeah, all of these guys are getting old. You'd expect them to kind of start dying off, and I mean, there's been a lot of really good musicians that have unfortunately passed away. So, yeah, Van Halen, one of the biggest names in rock and roll. He died he died last Tuesday. So, I don't know if there's like hats off or pour one out or whatever the response is for that, but it's sad news. But I mean, it's somewhat expected, but it's always kind of like, man, you just think about how many great songs, how many great guitar riffs are attributed to that, and you're like, no more. I mean, so hopefully he had a very full and fulfilling life. He brought a lot of enjoyment to other people. So hopefully he accomplished everything he wanted to, and I'm sure. I mean, I know he inspired a lot of other people to pick up the instrument, and inspired a lot of the current people who are out there, making music. Yeah, not too much more to add other than that. Okay, so it is, man, we got through this a little bit quicker than I expected. I mean, I still got a full 20 minutes left, and I don't want to get quite to the ending clip. So, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before I started talking about Core. I think it might have been last week, where I showed a video clip of the video game kind of designed in Core, and it was, I mean, I was had a Critical Role on on my playlist in the background at work, and then it auto played this other video with some of the people. Well, I mean, Sam Riegel is in that show, but and basically I found this other video where there's a bunch of people who play D&D live, like, in pseudo celebrity. I mean, or like maybe celebrities that you know of or familiar with, but not like name whatever. I mean, they're kind of like C-list celebrities. They're not quite A-list or B-list, right? But I mean, pseudo celebrities, I guess, is an appropriate term. Pseudo celebrities that also play D&D, and they play D&D, and they stream D&D sessions with other pseudo celebrities. But they've had bigger names on their shows, like the guys at Critical Role. They've had John Heater. I mean, well, that's not, again, that's kind of more like a B. It's not like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt or somebody like that coming on and playing D&D. They'd have Terry Crews come and do one of the D&D sessions, which I mentioned previously. Although that was kind of like a one-shot thing with Terry Crews. They've had Vin Diesel also doing one when he was doing some film, like I think Witch Hunter or something like that, and so they did kind of a one-shot, sort of loosely based on that character. I mean, they've had what's his name? The guy from Singled Out, John Hardwick. Wait, Chris Hardwick. Yeah, Chris Hardwick has been on that show. So they've had a couple, B and C-list celebrity star on those shows and stuff like that. So, pretty interesting streams. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting way distracted by thinking about that. So yeah, they do D&D, they do role playing, and then Will Wheaton also had kind of his own non-D&D sort of sci-fi-ish, future-ish one that was kind of cool. There's also, they do a Star Trek themed, role-playing scenario. So these are kind of catching on, and these have been going on for like 5-ish years. Like Critical Role was the big one that kind of blew up, and now they're getting an animated series and all that sort of stuff. But all these other kind of similar shows have picked up and kind of started following that same. So they're kind of set up like a TV show-ish, like with, producers and directors and stuff like that, camera angles on the different personalities. And a lot of these people are professional actors or, are used to being in front of cameras and used to doing voices and, and a lot of them have a background in improv. So it makes it a little more entertaining. It's a bit like a TV show, or it's a bit like radio programs. Like, the Shadow and Amos and Andy and, in the original Who's on First, when people first heard it, they didn't see the actual video to go with it. They heard it as a back and forth on the radio, and they're imagining the scenario that's going on. So D&D is or at least these live streams of D&D is very much reminiscent of that, where it's like these old radio programs where they're describing a story, or maybe it's like, describing a situation. You're imagining everything, but you're listening to it as if it was a scripted radio program. Big difference is it's not scripted. I mean, I guess it's sort of scripted. Like the Dungeon Master has a outline of what's possibly going to happen, and then he's got contingencies or whatever. He or she has contingencies on what might happen. But so they've got a basic structure of the story that they're trying to tell, but all the characters in it are all doing whatever they want to do, doing whatever they feel makes sense. And then there's also die rolls that are involved in it, which means like, oh, this person may intend to do something, but they rolled wrong, or they rolled low, and so, well, all that intention, you can have this great elaborate plan, and like, okay, what I'm going to do in my mind is I'm going to do this and this, and I'm going to succeed, and then you end up falling on your face and doing none of that. It's like, okay, yeah. So that, as far as a character is like, yeah, I want to take my sword, and I want to sweep their legs out from under them, and while they're falling, stab my sword into their stomach or something like that. It's like, oh, makes sense in theory, and then you swing your sword, and then think, tink, tink, it's supposed to knock you over. Oh, okay, you're really strong. Never mind. Forget I tried. Run away. That sort of stuff. It's very interesting, and I like fantasy settings, so it's appealing to me anyway. Yeah, but because I was following those or whatever, that led me to learning about this Core Games. And so over the weekend, I downloaded and installed this the launcher, tried out a couple of the games, and over the past, but basically Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, when I've been using my free time to test this out. There's two parts of this. Not just because it's free, so there's no, I was contemplating whether I could justify sinking extra time into this, and I'm still kind of on the fence about whether it's worth it or not. Sunk a good couple hours into it, because the idea is it's very robust set of tools that makes it very easy to create basic games. And I've got a lot of video game ideas. I had a group of friends when I was in the Air Force that kind of got together, and we had this idea of making, trying our hands at making a video game. Problem is when it came to coding it and putting all the assets together, because you're talking about we had to build our 3D models, we had to build all this, artwork, in addition to the functionality of, we've got this concept of what these things are going to do and how they're going to interact, but, we've got to build all these little pieces in addition to the interaction. Yeah, and eventually the whole project fell apart. We had a lot of game proposals and a lot of ideas on that regard, but, it kind of, nothing panned out. It I think so. The project they picked for it was the project that I had pitched, but I don't think it was a good project for an initial game. It was a little too ambitious for what we were trying to do. So I'm not gonna get. So I've talked about the concept with my brothers, and it was sort of based on an idea that they came up with. Although it was after talking about it with this group of friends, we kind of pitched it kind of more like a puzzle game where you're going through classic arcade games, and the idea is you're an object inside those games, and you're trying to escape those games, and then you're going through like from the original Asteroids and Pong and all these different versions, and then eventually you get to like Final Fantasy VII or whatever. I don't know if we ever. I think the furthest we thought through was like, okay, maybe we could get to the Super Nintendo era, and and you're trying to escape Super Mario World or something. And it wouldn't be the actual games; it would be kind of homages to them. It'd be close enough where you could be like, okay, that's Mega Man X or something like that. So that's Rockman X. So whatever, things like that. And it was a pretty cool concept, but it was for a group of friends that don't have too much video game experience. I mean, we got plenty of video game experience playing video games, but not a whole lot in game design. It was a bit biting off a bit too much, or a bit more than we could chew. I actually was highly in favor of one of the ideas pitched by another guy in the group, because it was like, okay, that's something, it's a single level, there's very few mechanics, a few interactions, but it sounds like a very good concept, or a unique concept, that people could grasp pretty quickly and would kind of build. And so, I'm not going to get into the full idea of it, because this individual may end up making that game themselves, but it was kind of like a Super Smash Brothers Brawl type setting. There's a single stage and everybody's just killing each other with different objects or whatever. But the big thing that was different is when you die, your body stays in the environment and it starts stacking up and becoming obstacles. So, yeah, I was like, that was very unique. Well, and I guess, so the idea was to escape the stage. And I guess maybe that's, maybe I just said too much. I was like, that was the entire... the concept... So that was the basic premise without actually revealing the full concept. Yeah, okay. That's not too much. Okay. But yeah, once the bodies were piled high enough or whatever, you could actually... Because, the goal wasn't how many people can you kill, just, your death toll or whatever, because... There's plenty of games like that. It was, once the bodies are piled up high enough or whatever, he's king of the hill or whatever, eventually the first one to leave is the winner. But the entire time, everybody's trying to stop each other. So, you're trying to be the first one to leave, so you can't have somebody else. So you're gonna kill them, and then they become a corpse that you can step on to hop out. I thought that would be a much easier... Because then you're only talking about a select number of assets. You're talking about a single stage, and then once you have one stage built, then you can okay, well now let's have a separate stage, and we'll apply these same concepts. We've got everything else. We'd have 90% of stage 2 already taken care of, at least all the parts that go into it. We just have to change, the setting of the environment that all these things are in to make it slightly different. And I was like, okay, well that was one arena. Now let's have a different arena. Everything else is the same, different arena, because it's going to change how people interact with it. Yeah. Much easier to have a game concept like that, because then you're like, okay, once you have one single thing taken care of, and then you're like, okay, now on to stage 2. It's all the same stuff, slightly different. Now stage 3, it's all the same stuff, slightly different. Much easier to build a game like that than what we were talking about was every stage is going to be something completely new, because it's a different game, it's a different mechanics, all these different pieces all put together. And I think 2 people had their level kind of designed, and we were using Unity for it. But the rest of us dropped the ball on that and realized it was way too much, and then just kind of gave up on it. So when I saw this core thing, that's the first thing that popped up, is like, okay, those ideas that I pitched, how difficult would they be to implement in core? I don't know. So I've been looking at what other people have been doing, and so starting sometime this week or maybe this weekend, I'm going to be, basically trying out the tools myself and try to create like a basic game, I think, to start off with. So the reason, so it's not just the, hey, this is something I always want to do, or something I wanted to do like 8 years ago. Wow, it's been more than 8 years now, because 8 years ago was already 2012. That's when I was planning to get out of the military. Oh yeah, that was the other thing that kind of threw off the development, is I had a deployment. So we were like 3 months into development, or no, maybe maybe it was only like 2 months in, and then I got orders to go to Djibouti, Africa for half a year. So that threw off anything I was working on and all of that. So I mean, that was a huge monkey wrench in the project. And then when I came back, it's like, yeah, nobody else finished theirs either. So, yeah. So that was, it's been over 10 years since my last attempt at creating a game. But I've had a couple of concepts that I wanted to try, and, I don't know enough about video game mechanics to do that. But with this system, all the assets are already there. And I already played around with some of the tools a little bit, and so some of the concepts, and there's also a Discord that I joined and went and talked to some of the people there who they're developing games and stuff like that, and was asking them a couple of things like, oh, I couldn't get this to work, and then they showed me how, and I was like, oh, that's so easy. I don't know why I didn't think of that. That's very user friendly. That's intuitive. It should have occurred to me, and it didn't. So very friendly user base, very easy tool set. I only played on it for, maybe 10-15 minutes, and already I had a basic map set up. And so now I've got to add objects to interact within that map. And once I have all that, and again, this is all stuff, so I didn't have to build any of these. I just had to find these objects that were already there in the library created by this community. They're like, okay, this is the object I want. Okay, so the object I was looking for was a hexagon, and so I ended up finding a hexagon originally, but it was a 2D hexagon. And so I made a map using these 2D hexagons, and I was like, well, how do I make these hexagons different from each other? And I kept trying to apply different paints and skins to it, and it's like, yeah, that didn't work. The problem is it's a 2D model, and the stuff I was trying to apply to them were 3D models, and so I had to find a 3D hex, or a trying to blank on the term. A hexagonal prism. Yeah, that's the term. Prism. Hexagonal prism object, and once I found that object and made it the size I wanted, then I could take the 3D coloring and add it to that, and it was like, okay, now we've got all these different hexagon blocks, and I can use those, and I can construct a map out of hexagon. So the idea I was originally going with was something else, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I just want to make a Settlers of Catan kind of knockoff. I think that would be much easier, and people would play that. Although you would have to have other players, wouldn't you? As soon as you try to implement AI, that's when it becomes very, very difficult. But as far as collecting resources based on a die roll, trading objects around, that shouldn't be too difficult. And again, the animations exist, so all you have to do is get a card object and slap a piece of wheat on there, and card object and slap a stone. And again, like a lot of these tool sets are out there, so maybe I will make a 3D Well, yeah, that's the other thing, is a lot of these, you can make a 2D game, but it's all using 3D objects, so it looks really cool, and you're seeing it in an isometric perspective. So again, visually, you can have like animated objects and stuff like that. So it's very different from game makers that I've seen in the past, where a lot of it was pixel art for the most part, and a lot of it was static, and you'd have one static image, and then you'd switch between that and the other static. Like this is all. You can have a 3D object that just sits there and does nothing, or they can, you can have little characters on there, and those characters are animated or whatever. That's the other thing, is you can also scale the size of objects, and so even though you can start with this hexagonal prism and then make it larger, there's also house objects that you can go and you can grab a house and set it on top of that, and that house would have like, so I mean, if you're trying to make Settlers of Catan, I think I could do that. So maybe we'll see. The other thing is once you get all the objects, then you actually have to start looking at how they interact with it, and that's where you get into a little bit of coding and programming. But thankfully, from what I've seen, their tool set, it's a bunch of sliders. There is some scripting involved. I saw a couple of the people who were making stuff, and they had to go in and they were typing like if statements and stuff like that. But it was, I mean, very, very basic stuff, not anything too terribly complicated. So, and since there is a Discord, if I ever get stuck on something along those lines, I'm sure I could reach out to somebody there who has some experience with that and ask for some help there, because again, I went on there and was like, so I tried applying a paint job to some of these objects, didn't work. What's going on there? And I'm like, oh, can't apply a 3D something to a 2D something. It doesn't work. Yeah, makes sense. Should have occurred to me that, the two weren't the same, but I mean, as far as I thought it was just a color, but, all right. That's all I have to say about that, but that's something I'm getting interested into and might spend more time. Oh, so, there's the other thing. So unlike other things, as far as I know, like, so Roblox is kind of what a lot of people are comparing this to. As far as I know, there's no money in Roblox, at least as far as I know. I mean, maybe people are getting paid. As far as I know, people are making it just for the sheer fun of making stuff in Roblox. Same thing with Super Mario Maker. People are building levels in Super Mario. They're taking all this time and energy to craft these really unique jumping levels, and you gotta, like Super Meat Boy-esque jumping levels and all this sort of stuff. And there's no, what do they get out of it? They get, hey, good job. A lot of people liked your challenge, or people couldn't complete this challenge, and so you win for making a really, really difficult level, sort of thing. But aside from that, and so I'm trying to think of any other type of, and there's also Dreams is another one that came out, and Little Big Planet also had a similar concept where it's a game where you make other games. A lot of people had a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool stuff that came out of that. A lot of cool, interesting ideas. But there was no compensation for it. Where this is where I saw Core being different from other stuff, because there are ways to get paid. So I mentioned last time that they have a program where they're paying for a certain number of users per if you get a certain number of daily people using your game, they're going to pay you $3 per person. So if you have 30 people show up and play every day, then you get $90. All right. It's not a whole lot, but I mean, if you threw a 10-minute game together, threw a game together in 10 minutes, and then a lot of people are playing it on a daily basis, and you end up making $90 out of that. 10 minutes for $90, that's not bad. Or, what if you get like 1,000 people playing, and then now you're making $3,000 a month for something that took a couple of minutes or maybe a few hours. So there's that aspect of it. There's the other aspect of this concept that I was not aware of beforehand, but now it makes more sense given the D&D video where I learned about Core. Those games that they were showing were made as a part of a contest, and Core has been doing contests pretty regularly, and they give out $800 rewards for the winners of these contests, and there's multiple categories. So I think the one they're doing right now is a Halloween inspired video game contest, and they've got a couple different categories. And if your game gets picked or wins one of those categories, that's $800. So even if you're not a part of the partnership program, whatever, you're not making $3 per daily user, there's still alternative ways of earning money with this platform for just a couple of, minutes or hours of your time. Now, if I could spend 2 hours and make a game that might win one of these categories, that's $800. And they've had in the past, so they did it. The ones from that other campaign were D&D inspired levels, and they had 5 winners in D&D inspired levels. And before that, I think they had a Alice in Wonderland. I didn't see any gameplay in any of those. I think those were just environments inspired by Alice in Wonderland. Inspired by Alice in Wonderland. I didn't see any actual games built off of those. But that was pretty cool. So they were giving out prizes on that. I'm not going to spend too much time involved in that. Man, my nose is getting really itchy. And oh, I know. I haven't taken my allergy. My Benadryl recently. So I think I figured out what it is. And it's the first time I've ever been allergic to a dog, but my neighbor has a dog, and I think I am allergic to that dog because I keep having sneezing fits and runny nose and stuff like that. And so when I forget to take my Benadryl, that happens. Well, the reason I figured out it's the dog is because I keep finding these little white hairs all over my stuff, and I don't know how that's happening, if it's getting through the ventilation or whatever, but somehow dog hairs are getting into my stuff. It's not like the dog has, I'm in my apartment the whole day because I work from home, and it's not like the dog is coming in, but I'm seeing dog hairs on my stuff, and as far as I know, that's the only thing that I could be allergic to or whatever that makes sense given the situation, because that's the only major change. They've also got they recently got a puppy that is just yipping constantly throughout the day. Like, I'm guessing the owner has to work outside of the apartment or something like that, because that little dog is yipping for like 4 hours every morning. It's so annoying. When I just go in there, punch the thing, and be like, shut up. Just shut up for 5 minutes. Remember, but I'm not actually going to do that. Punching puppies is bad. But it makes me want to. Just to get it to shut up. Wanting to do something and doing something, two separate things. I in no way endorse punching puppies. That's no one should endorse any kind of animal brutality or any kind of violence towards animals. I am not an advocate of that, but some people and some animals annoy you to make you want to hit them. That doesn't mean you should or that you will. All right. On that note, I think I'm just gonna play the ending clip here and head out. Now that I've
It's hard to believe that 5G is as amazing as everyone is saying. So we brought in Mint Mobile head of technology, Rizwan Kasim, to explain it to us. Riz?
Well, 5G is substantially more spectrally efficient with lower latency. So it's an order of magnitudes improvement over 4G.
It seems we may never know what 5G is, so we're just going to give it away for free with every plan until we can figure that out.
No, we're not. Oh, I guess we are.
We are. Thank you for trying, Riz.
I thought my explanation was good.
No, God, no.
All right. So, yeah, obviously that was so Ryan Reynolds has been making he apparently bought this company Mint Mobile or started it up. I'm not sure what exactly. I think he just bought it. I don't think he knows anything really about cell phones or anything like that. But he's been doing advertisements for all of his stuff. He's also got Aviation Gen, and he's been using his channel to make, and they're amazing. They're funny. They actually make you want to buy the product. I don't drink alcohol, so I'm not interested in buying Aviation Gen, but I was like, dude, this is how advertisement should be done, and this is how celebrities, if they have a YouTube channel, this is what they should be doing. Not acting as if, like, see, we're just like you, and we've got low-rent video. It's like, no, you're worth millions of dollars. There's no way you got a crappy webcam and you're just talking to the computer and like, see, I'm playing Animal Crossing and talking to people on live chat. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that from some celebrity has-been hack or whatever. If you are worth millions, people want to, like, okay, do things like, okay, invite your millionaire best friends on there and have a show where you're interacting with other people that people like, oh, I want, or, that kind of stuff is what people would expect. And so Ryan Reynolds, he has this channel. He's been using it to, advertise his movies, make just funny content. He doesn't upload every day. He's not treating it like a daily video blog or whatever. He just puts something out there whenever he feels like it. That's how celebrities should if they have a YouTube channel, that's how they should do it. Like, yeah, don't try to act like, see, I'm just like you. I'm like, no, we know you're full of crap. Ryan Reynolds is doing it right, and he's making actual funny content, and it makes you like, yeah, just do that. As far as I know, it hasn't been political, at least from what I can tell. But yeah, just good stuff. Ryan Reynolds is awesome. And on that note, I'm gonna call it a day. Go blow my nose because it's starting to run. But at least I took my allergy medication, so should clear up in a couple of minutes here. All right. And last thing, I did appeal YouTube's whatever on my last video. I will see if I can get that back up with a different title, because if that's the only problem was the title and maybe the thumbnail, like, those are things I can easily change. You don't need to delete my entire video, and that's a very small portion of what I talked about in the video. But alright, so on that note, I'm gonna end the stream. I didn't see anybody join in the chat, don't see anybody watching, so thanks for joining me, anybody who ends up watching this later, and I will see you next Tuesday.